In this recap, I will be telling you about a movie called The Princess Switch. Hope you enjoy! The movie opens with Chicago. The title appears, and then we see Stacy's Sweets Treats, where Baker Stacy is saying how great her sous chef Kevin is. Kevin's daughter Olivia comes in and asks for a sugar cookie, and Stacy gives her a cookie. Kevin surprises Stacy with an invitation to a baking competition in Belgravia, and in order to get back at her ex and his new girlfriend, Stacy says she is going to compete in a baking contest in Belgravia. Stacy, Kevin, and Olivia go to Belgravia. They go to their house and then decide to go sightseeing. Olivia really wants to go to a ballet program in the summer, and Stacy says she can watch the performance for 5 minutes. While crossing the road, Stacy almost gets run over by Prince Edward's limo. Stacy and Kevin go to Wembley Studios to set up for the baking competition. And after Brianna spills her drink on Stacy, she goes to clean up when she bumps into someone who looks identical to her. They look in the mirror to confirm that they look alike. Turns out that the person Stacy bumped into is the Duchess, and she is going to marry the prince. Duchess Margaret asks Stacy for her to give her opinion on her wedding cake. She agrees to go to the palace for a consultation, but can't tell anyone. Stacy tells her friends she should just buy another apron. At the palace, Stacy and Margaret find out they could be related, and Margaret says she doesn't want to marry the prince and asks if her and Stacy could switch places. After asking if Margaret can get Olivia into the ballet summer program, Stacy agrees to switch places with her. Stacy shows Margaret her house in Chicago, Kevin, Olivia, and her bakery. Stacy gets a haircut. Margaret goes over the family tree. They practice walking as each other. They swap phone cases and clothes. The prince knocks on the door and Stacy answers. They talk. Margaret leaves and goes to the house and tells Kevin she couldn't find an apron that fits her personality. Stacy talks with Miss Donatelli. After their talk, Miss Donatelli says,
"Yes, I believe you will be,"
which sounds a little bit like a threat, and she leaves. Stacy has breakfast with the king and queen. Stacy chokes on her tea when she sees Edward didn't leave for Spain. Edward gives Stacy a tiara as a present. Stacy goes to get changed for riding. The king tells Frank to keep a close eye on her and that she seems different. Back at the house, Lady Margaret is making breakfast. Olivia comes downstairs and sees that Margaret had burnt the toast for breakfast, so they decide to eat out for breakfast instead, and Olivia and Margaret do their secret handshake. Stacy calls Margaret, and because Margaret is getting coats, Olivia sees on caller ID that Stacy is calling Stacy and gets suspicious. Edward and Stacy go riding. Stacy calls Margaret, and Margaret says that there is a problem and hands the phone to Olivia. Olivia and Margaret go to see Santa, and Olivia says, "Let's all get in the picture," and they do. They get into a snowball fight. At the ball, the prince and Stacy stop under the mistletoe, and Stacy kisses his cheek. The prince says that Stacy should play something on the piano, and she's hesitant at first for obvious reasons, but with help from Edward, she does. Edward says he arranged for a carriage ride in the morning. Then they practice dancing because Stacy says she's not very good. Stacy and Edward go on the carriage ride, and Stacy suggests they schedule a day to visit the shelter, which they do. At the shelter, Stacy reads to the children. After hearing the children don't get any toys on Christmas, Stacy suggests they go shopping for toys for them. So they go to a toy store. Someone interviews Margaret. Stacy and Edward pick out toys. They play Twister, and Margaret, Kevin, and Olivia go in the toy store. Stacy sees Margaret and Olivia. Stacy claims she lost her earring. Stacy and Edward wrap presents, and Stacy brings cookies that she claims her father taught her how to bake. They take all the wrapped presents to the shelter. At the shelter, they all sing. Edward says that him and Stacy will make it a tradition to go to the shelter once a month. They end up standing under the mistletoe and they kiss on the lips. At the house, Olivia asks if Stacy could tuck her in. Margaret and Kevin talk about their failed relationships. Then Margaret goes upstairs to tuck Olivia in. Margaret tells Olivia that she doesn't have a choice and she has to leave. Kevin pours tea for him and Stacy. Kevin says that the trip has done Stacy a lot of good and jokes that she's a different person. Kevin asks Stacy what Christmas movie she wants to watch, and she says
The one with Santa.
because she doesn't spend much time watching movies. Back at the palace, Edward gives Stacy a Truth, Honor, and Love crest as a Christmas present. Kevin gives Stacy a necklace with the picture of when him, and Olivia took a picture with Santa. Margaret kisses him, then asks Kevin to pretend it never happened, and goes to bed. Brianna sneaks into Wembley Studios and cuts the cable to Stacy's stand mixer. The time to switch back is here, and Margaret says how great Kevin is, and Stacy says how great Edward is, and Margaret says that Stacy's in love with Edward, and Stacy says Margaret is in love with Kevin. Outside, Frank takes pictures of the two girls, but falls off the balcony. At the house, actual Stacy makes breakfast. Olivia comes down and doesn't believe her, so they do their secret handshake. At the palace, Frank tries to give the pictures he took to the king, but the king's wife stops him. Margaret looks at the necklace Kevin gave her. At the baking competition, all the bakers make a Christmas cake. The queen says she's feeling sick and says Edward and Margaret should take her place, handing out ribbons at the baking competition. Margaret goes outside. Stacy sees the cable for her stand mixer is cut, so she makes the filling by hand. Margaret looks at the crest Edward gave her. Edward comes outside and Margaret tells him the truth. The baking competition ends. The prince and Margaret go to Wembley. The judges reached their decision and Kevin and Stacy won first place. The host announces that Prince Edward and Duchess Margaret will be presenting the awards. Stacy doesn't want to have to go up on stage and confront Edward, so she says they'll be late for the plane. Kevin says he's going up there and Stacy goes too. Prince Edward and Duchess Margaret go up there and present medals. When Stacy and Kevin go up, Kevin sees that Margaret and Stacy look alike. They talk backstage and explain everything. Edward says that he's in love with Stacy and wants to be with her, and Stacy says she can't let him do that and walks away. Kevin and Margaret kiss. Edward asks Stacy that if she's still in love with him a year from today, if she will marry him next Christmas. She says of course she will, and they kiss. Fast forward a year later and Stacy and Edward get married. Stacy throws the bouquet and Margaret catches it. And that's my recap for The Princess Switch. I really hope you liked watching it. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave a comment of movie suggestions for me to recap or review. I'll see you next week. Take care.